everyone, Jen O'Sullivan here. We are getting underway with this book club for Vitality Book, and I'm so excited to have you guys here. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. We are on lesson 4, and it is all about just interesting, fun tips to get you started. Detox, what we're going to look at for detox, and we're going to get into choosing a brand. So if you are here, and I would love to hear if you are enjoying this or if you have the book and you're excited, are you following along? What are some of the questions you have? And how can we move forward in a bold way to choose vitality? So if you are here and you're ready to choose vitality, I want to see you use the hashtag choose vitality. Hashtag choose vitality. I want you to tag some friends who maybe you think need to hear some of this. Now, we're going to get deep into some stuff that you might not like me for. And I laugh about that because sometimes I'll tell you some hard changes that you might need to make, and you're gonna not like me, and then you're gonna try it, and then you're gonna come back and say thank you. Okay? Time and time again, I help women and men change their lives for the better, and they come back and they say, I really, really was not happy when you said I needed to change that, and when I did, and I just figured I'm just gonna try it, it's so much better. And so that is what this lifestyle shift is about. It's hard. You guys, successful people do the things unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. Did you catch that? It's a big one. Successful people, if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to do the things unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So we're going to change our mindsets, and hashtag choose vitality. That is so important for us to constantly remind ourselves of the commitment we've made. If you haven't watched the intro, please do. Make sure you're making that commitment. And let's just dive right into some simple tips to kind of get you started, because I can tell you right now, once you start this journey and you start just dipping your toe in, you are going to become addicted very fast. And what I mean by that is when you start feeling the endorphin rush of feeling good, and when you start waking up just awake and alive, there's nothing that compares to that. And people ask me all the time, like, why do you do all of this for free all the time? I love my life. I love the vitality that is in my life. I want that for every one of you. And I can't tell you how many times I'm talking constantly to people who are sick and tired and sick, and it's just not good, and it's this continual cycle. Let's get out of that cycle. Let's stop the cycle, okay? So if you're ready, just say no more and hashtag choose vitality, okay? We want to move forward with boldness and just greatness and vitality, okay? Not kidding. No caffeine here. Just as pure as I possibly can. I'm still human, so I eat ice cream every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta live here in this world, but we want to generally choose health over death. All right? So, when it comes to your essential oils, there's this kind of thing that everyone says, make sure they're out of sunlight. Now, people get on my case about these back here. These are all full oils, and this is a bright room, right? There's never direct sunlight on them, okay? And that's important to note. It can be in a bright lit room. They just can't have direct UV rays on them. That's really important. They can't, they can get warm. It's okay if they are warm as long as the bottle is closed. That's something that I think also people are worried about. Like if your oils get shipped and they're sitting out on your porch and it's hot, just let them cool to room temperature before you open them. Remember, when oils were distilled, it was very high temperatures. So these little guys are not getting hurt by warm temperatures, but they will escape faster if you open the bottle when they're warm. The UV light is a problem though, and that is why the bottles themselves are in amber. Okay, they're in amber to protect them from that. So just don't leave them in your car somewhere where the sun is going to directly hit them. Don't put them like on your counter in your kitchen where the sun is directly hitting them. Just make sure they're hidden from direct UV light. They don't need to be behind a counter anywhere or behind some closed doors. I think a lot of people think they need to be like in darkness. That's not true. They just can't be having any direct sunlight hitting them. I want you to also keep them upright. If you've got oils all laying on their sides in a drawer or in your purse, I know some of you guys do that, these are sneaky little guys. They want to escape. So keep them upright. Not only is that going to keep them longer, right? They're not going to leak out. But also remember the orifice reducer, even though it's a hard plastic and that plastic doesn't deteriorate typically, have you ever, and I know some of you guys have had this happen before, left something high in monoterpenes like lemon or tea tree on its side only to open it up and the orifice reducer is like kind of sticky and weird? It's because it was on its side and it was eating away. So just know that we want to keep them upright. Okay, keep the lids hand tight, but don't over tighten. So many people will put their lids on and just do that, and now it's pretty loose. That's not good either, because they will escape. Again, they're volatile. And some people will over tighten them, and then you get the cracked tops. You know, that's because you're over tightening them. They shouldn't be like tight. What it is taut, right? That's such a weird word for some people, but you want them to be hand taut, which means you're just, it's just to where I can't really go anymore, and I'm not putting a ton of pressure, but it's now stuck in both ways. Like I can't go back super easy. So if it's loose, I could go back and forth really easy, but if I make it hand taut, it's on there, okay? We don't have to like rank them down. That's not good, because then they crack, okay? Certain oils like myrrh will get like tight and crusty and weird. So what I usually do, because that's technically a resin, is if I'm gonna drip a drop out, I'm not gonna touch the orifice reducer. I'm gonna touch the side just to get any excess off that might be sticky, and then put it back up and let those oils, it takes some time for some of those heavier, thicker resin-based oils to kind of pull back into the cap. So give it like a couple seconds. You can leave it out for just a couple, like 30 seconds or so, just to kind of allow that to go back in. But then again, make it taut and let it sit upright. Certain oils like myrrh are just going to give you some hassles. So just know sometimes those are just not good. Oh, and this is Royal Hawaiian Sandalwood, which I'm just like, I love it. So we don't want to waste any of that good deliciousness. Okay, so another tip is I want you to consider sharing them with your friends. And I know this seems weird, but for many, many years I lived on an island. I would share certain oils with friends just here and there, but I wasn't sharing the gold that I had found, right? These little gems are like gold in a bottle. And so I encourage you just to share with them, because it's sort of rude of you not to. And I'm not telling you to become a salesperson. I'm just telling you that it's actually pretty rude if you find something that works for you and it's amazing. It's almost like your job to tell friends like when something's amazing. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you're like, wow, that was amazing. You want to tell everyone. So remember, you know, you don't have to ever sell this stuff, but do know that like your friends deserve to know, okay? And I guarantee you that your enroller would be happy to help you share, or you can send them directly to your enroller and say she can help you out. But also know that, I mean, it's kind of nice to make $50 to $100 per person that signs up. They give you a really generous like starting commission base. So I don't know. I like free oils. Do you like free oils? So that's usually the fun part of it, is just, you know, share with your friends. If they ever buy anything, you can just get you know, some cash. You can buy free oils or some gas for your car, right? I mean, like, how cool is that? Or use it for date night money. So it's just really simple, and it's not like you would be like, I'm a salesperson now. You don't need to do that. Although some of you guys see the massive value in this and share with everybody, and then you're financially free, right? Best thing ever. I mean, seriously, best thing ever that happened to me. You guys, I used to be a celebrity wedding photographer for a very long time. I had 3 studios, one in Beverly Hills, California, one in Pasadena, California, and one in Irvine. These are like 3 hot spots. I had a massive team. It was crazy. And I don't do that anymore. And I'm just like, every Saturday, I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. Like, I love photography, but what a blessing it is to help thousands upon thousands of people now, and just share my love of essential oils. And that's all I do. And you guys, it's incredible. Let me tell you. Okay. So I want you to also have oils with you at all time. Have oils in your purse, at your desk, at your bedside table, in your bathroom, in your vanity, everywhere and anywhere. Just have them. The reason for that is oftentimes when we like hide them in a drawer somewhere, it's out of sight, out of mind. I want them everywhere. So you're like, oh, I can use that. Oh, I can use that. Oh, look at this little roller ball I made. I'm going to put it on right now because I love it so much. And I do. And this one blows you away. Little recipe, lavender, lemon, and peppermint. That's all. In a roller ball, top it off with carrier oil, rub it behind your ears, on your skull here, down your jawline, and all of a sudden, you've got not only the best smelling personal perfume you've ever used in your life that every single person you come into contact with will compliment you on. I'm not kidding. It's a little funny after a while. I sometimes don't wear it to church because I don't want people saying, you smell so good. I just want people focus, right? Don't focus on me. But I'm not kidding you. This gets the most compliments. And then it also is like, Amazing. It just helps with this easy breezy feeling. Like you'll love it. Okay, so for sure try that one. Okay. Okay, let's get into some detox and some system flushing. And I know that one of the things that people say is a myth is detox, but when you detox, you know you are detoxing. So do know that when you use essential oils, they are going to work. They're literally in your body, and they're going to work and get rid of all the stuff that's in your body that's bad. They just are like little army guys, and that's their job. They're trying desperately to take an acidic environment and make it alkaline. They're desperately trying to balance you. That is what oils do. That's all they care about, is balancing you back to wellness. That's their job. Okay, so when you have never used oils before and you use them for the first time, oftentimes you get these sort of vitality, we call them like vital flushing sensations. Like you might have chills, you might get a flash fever, or like a slight background like headache that lasts a couple days. Very common, okay? So they're just vital flushes, they're vital responses that just are on the outside of your body. That just feel weird, like you just feel a little off. It's your body is trying to get rid of it. Imagine if, I kind of liken it to like an army of guys going in, invading a bad city, getting rid of all the bad guys. Well, where do all the bad guy bodies need to go, right? They need to go somewhere. And that is what happens when your body is detoxing, is you get these vital energy flushes. And so it just, sometimes it's headaches, but and again, it only lasts for about a week or two. Meaning these just like detox system issues. So you can do system flushing, and in this book, French Aromatherapy, and in the EOBar app, there's a whole section on system flushing, and that's going to help you see some different system flushing techniques that you can do, plus understand a little bit more about detox. Okay, so that is a really good good way to just get started with essential oils, because oftentimes if we understand what's happening to us, then we're good with it, right? I kind of like it when I feel something, because I'm like, okay, it's working, right? I want to feel it and know it's going to pass, but that's my body working to heal itself, and our bodies do a really good job of healing it themselves, okay? It's called homeostasis. Okay. All right, let's get into choosing a brand. Now, I've created this as a comparison chart, and I've actually tested 22 different essential oil companies. This is the top 10. And this goes over apples to apples, comparing the different companies. One of the things that I like to kind of point out and help people understand in this is we want to make sure when there's not an apples to apples comparison that it's pointed out to you. So you're going to see lots of areas where there's like stars on this. Now, when I talk about choosing a brand in this book, you know, I'm just telling you how I've gone about looking at these different brands. I'm looking at the depth and breadth of action. I'm an organoleptic tester. That means that I can tell if something has synthetics in it just by smelling it. I can tell how authentic the oil is based on its therapeutic activity in my body. There's all sorts of ways and methods that we actually organoleptic test, but some of the things that are very important to me is truth in advertising, truth in practices. What are the things that I can find in any company that might be a little bit inconsistent with what they state? And that's important to me. When I understand the idea of testing, right, and everybody's all on this gas chromatography, mass spectrometry testing, like why can't we see the certificates of analysis? We have to remember that Young Living is one of the only companies on the planet that does not alter their oils, meaning we keep our oils the true botanical. We do not fractionate them. We do not practice fractional distillation, which 99% of all the companies on the market do. We also don't rectify our oils, which again, 99% of the oil companies do. And we're going to get into that into some other lessons. But this chart here is really going to help you understand. And this is just an extra insert if you did want to purchase these and see what they're like. It is listed in the Human Body and Essential Oils group, so you can have access to that just to read it. But you can get these at 31oils.com. So just know that that's a very simple, easy way to kind of understand this. But one of the things I wanted to point out to you is at the top, we talk about what industry expert is associated with that company, right? So Gary Young was our industry expert, and he's no longer with us. So it's really Dr. Michael Buch right now, and he's amazing, and he's our chief science person who straight up like does everything and is amazing. And if you ever get a chance to hear him talk, it's like you're just like on the edge of your seat listening to everything he says. Even my husband got to recently hear him speak, and he's not real good at paying attention to these kind of things because it's sort of boring for him, and he straight up was like, that was awesome. So he's our industry expert, and he's amazing. And when you look at the other companies, you'll see there's all sorts of different people that are considered the industry expert in that company. What I'd like you to do when you get this chart is to check out the person who is the industry expert and then drop down to the third-party testing section. The third-party testing section is interesting because third-party means somebody that is not associated with the company whatsoever, meaning they don't have a stake in the company. They could care less. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, they don't care. They're just third-party testing. Now, Young Living uses 6 different labs, and I want to point out, because people often ask me, like, well, which labs? We've been told by Dr. Michael Buch that the labs that we use we can't tell them because they're the ones that are literally responsible for, like, all the bombings, like the Unabomber, like all the different random things. They're the FBI and CIA. Those are the testing agencies that we use. The CIA and the FBI, they use these labs. So we're using extremely high-end labs, and we also have the largest library to compare it to. And the library is really important. Now, this isn't a talk about libraries, so we're not going to get into that, but you can go into the Human Body and Essential Oils group and look up cinnamon bark, because there was this whole scandal that everybody asks me about, and I love bringing it up because that lesson talks about libraries and why libraries are so important from the perspective of really making sure it's the right species and that the markers are there, and it's like a thumbprint. It's like investigating a thumbprint. If you had somebody break into your home in a small town, and the small town library of fingerprints, they wouldn't be able to know who it was if it was somebody that was not from the town, right? Whereas if you use the database that was, say, the international database, now you have thumbprints from all over the world, and that's going to actually be able to know if the person is a person or not. Whereas from the small town, they'd say, well, we don't have that thumbprint, so I guess it's a fake person, right? That's just how small labs do. They'd be like, well, I guess it's fake because we don't have that data. It's just because they have a small library, right? You want the large library of plant thumbprints, okay? So when you drop down to that third-party testing and you start realizing there's one company that is very common thread, and I want you just to look at that and note that, interestingly enough, that person, the person who owns that company that is a third-party testing, is also the person that's the main person associated with the company. It's their industry expert. That person buys their oils, that person blends their oils, that person is in charge of literally making sure everything's good. He's their industry expert. But that person also was the founder of the third-party lab, who now a family member owns, but he was still on the original documents of he was the owner and he was the person who ran that company for many years. So he has a vested stake not only in purchasing, blending, but also the third-party tester. So that to me is really, really bad. That shows, I'm not going to trust that. We can't trust somebody who says, I'm the third-party tester, oh, and I buy the oil, so I'm going to buy them and then say, yep, they're pure, right? Like, that's not third-party testing. So I just like to call a spade, and part of what I'm known for, and I'm not naming names or anything, you can look at the test and see kind of what it is, and you could look this up. It took me 20 minutes to find that information online, to look up the records of the company and who started it and the owner and all that stuff. Super easy to find. So it's all public records, and I just want you to be aware that sometimes things aren't always what they seem. And so this is just a good apples to apples comparison, so you can see sort of like how many oils do they have, do they distill on site, do they have farm ownership, are they organic, what does that mean, so this goes over everything for you. So you can get those at 31oils.com. And the brand selection, just so you know, because we're going to move on to lesson 5 here in just a minute. And that one's going to be a bit longer, but I wanted to kind of start with choosing a brand, because when you're trying to understand how to choose a brand, sometimes side-by-side testing is the best thing that you can do. So I want to give you some tests that you can do in home. And this is so fun, you guys. And I encourage you to actually have a friend, like find a friend who has a different brand that they like using some other brand, whether it's something from a grocery store or something they found online or another MLM, right? They're everywhere. There's like more than 2,000 essential oil companies. So I often get messages from people that say, hey Jen, have you tried this brand or can you test this? And I'm like, I don't know, that's some random brand. You know, I mean, there's so many of them. So I'm going to give you 5 tests that you can do. And what I would love for you guys to do is do it together, right? Take both your oils, do them together. Pick the same exact oils from 2 different companies and do them together. So one thing that you'll do is you'll get brand new bottles. I like to use lavender, lemon, and peppermint because for me personally, I can know exactly what the action of that is supposed to be, meaning the therapeutic action, both internally and externally. So that is something that I use, so I recommend that here. It's just lavender, lemon, and peppermint. You're gonna take those brand new bottles and you're gonna stick them in the freezer on their sides, okay? So you're gonna, brand new, unopened, on their sides on a flat surface, and then, you know, give it 8 hours, pull them out and see if any of them have frozen. Essential oils shouldn't freeze unless they're like rose oil or some of the thicker oils like vetiver, because that's just, they're thicker, but they shouldn't freeze. Those 3 oils should not freeze when not opened, okay? Before they're opened. Sometimes when you open them and the air mixes with them, that sometimes will cause them to freeze. But with a commercial freezer, they might freeze. We're talking about your freezer at home, okay? So a general, just non-commercial freezer, they shouldn't freeze. Oftentimes peppermint from other companies, because they're too high in menthol, because literally they've distilled out some of the heavier molecules, they will freeze. So it's a little interesting to me, that freeze test. The aroma test is super easy. All it is you're wanting to figure out that top note from just opening it up. You're gonna then drip a drop into your hand. You're gonna smell that oil deeply. You're gonna note the aroma. Do you get a headache from it? Oftentimes with synthetics, sometimes people will get like a faint headache right away, if not a little bit later. Does it smell sweet? If it smells sweet to you, it's usually been distilled, right? A second time, meaning the actual oil itself has been distilled 1 or 2 more times after the original plant was distilled. And you want to note that if it smells sweet or if it came from the earth and feels like kind of the true botanical. What I want you to also do then is note the smell after about 30 to 60 minutes. So like again, if you're doing 2 different brands, do the one, like say peppermint on your left hand and peppermint on your right hand from the other brand. Wait 30 or 60 minutes and see which one you can still smell. Again, a distilled oil that has been fractionally distilled, you won't smell it anymore. It will be gone. The one that hasn't been fractionally distilled, you'll still be able to smell it, okay? So this is helpful. I want you to note all of these things, and what I want you to do is give several hours, about 4 hours between each species. So let's say you want to do now a lavender test. You can't do it right on top of the peppermint test. You have to do it at least 4 hours in between each species, okay? And so that's a very easy thing to do. A kind of a secondary thing, which we get into in another chapter, but just to help you know, if you have your friend with you and you take, say, lavender, take your lavender and their lavender, and you guys both go down to the plant store, like the nursery, and ask them for Lavandula angustifolia, okay? It's a specific species of plant. And then all you need to do is put a drop of yours in your hand, they can put a drop of theirs in their hand, and you both can kind of like rip apart one of the plants, like where the flower bud is and like where the plant is, just like kind of squish it in your hands. They'll all be like, what are you doing? Smell your hands and then smell the oil that you just put in your hand, and do it for both of you and see which one smells like the true botanical. And 99% of all the other companies on the market do not smell like the true botanical. They just smell sweet. And that sweet oil is because they've distilled out the heavier molecules. Again, it helps it stay on your body and work in your body longer and deeper. It's really important. That aroma test is the most important. You can do a synergy test, which would be all 3 of those oils in one bottle like this without carrier oil. Swirl them and wait about 24 hours. After 24 hours, I want you to take one from each of them and see which one's working. Do the smell test again with each one of them. It should smell fresh. If it smells funky at all, usually it's synthetics. I've only had that happen with one company and specifically that they claimed they were pure, and it's an Amazon brand that they rate on Amazon as like one of the top brands, and they're synthetics. It's pure synthetics. And I'm really horrified by that because you put, it's like a science experiment. You put all three of those oils together and all of a sudden it just smells rancid. And that's because it's, science gone wrong. Like those were not meant to blend together because they were all synthetics. So you never know. And if you type in essential oils on Amazon, they are the top oil company that comes up, and it's just some random brand that nobody's ever heard of. And so I bought them thinking, well, if Amazon's recommending them, I'm going to see. And I actually wrote them a letter saying, shame on you. You're selling pure synthetics labeled as pure non-synthetics. So it's just tricky. You never know. And so doing the synergy test is actually very helpful to find out if they are synthetic or not. The breadth of action is a little bit more deeper. Now you would take that synergy if it did smell fresh. If it smelled gross, don't do any of the breadth of action. But you're going to drip, use a little bit of carrier, drip 2 drops in your palm, and use your fingers from the other hand and rub it on your skull, behind your ear, and down your jawline. I already showed you guys that. But what you're going to do within about 30 seconds is you're going to note the action. You're going to kind of consider, okay, what's happening to my body right now? How am I feeling? I want you to sit down, and this is interesting. I want you to sit down and rub a little bit with carrier oil on your cheeks, like right next to your nose. Close your eyes because the peppermint will be a little spicy. Now again, you're using the synergy of lavender, lemon, and peppermint with a little bit of carrier oil. And I want you to note what's happening. Most oils with the peppermint, it's going to feel a little biting. It's going to be a little bit rough. Whereas Young Living's, you'll feel it go in deeply and you'll actually feel this beautiful action as opposed to like knives in your skull. Okay, so everybody has a little bit different reaction and response to this, but it's a way. Just remember to close your eyes because the peppermint can kind of float up, so be careful with that. Okay. So just wait several minutes before opening your eyes. If you need more carrier oil, please do. Just like I said, be careful about that. Okay, so a filler test. This is sort of one that people get wrong often, but just know that we want to test to see if there are any fillers in that. And fillers typically are carrier oils or alcohol. And so all you need to do is take a piece of cotton rag paper, and this is where people get it wrong all the time. You do not use copy paper. Copy paper is often synthetic, and that synthetic will be pulling out from your oils and you'll get rings around them from just the paper itself. It has to be pure cotton rag paper. So you can go into like a Kelly paper and say, where is your 100% cotton rag paper? It's like really nice letterhead, and you can just buy a sheet from them for like 5 cents or whatever it is, 10 cents a page. I can't remember what their sheet price is. But then what you're going to do is you're going to break your paper up with pencil, okay, lines. And pencil's organic material. You don't want to use pen. We're just going to use nice organic material. We're going to draw lines so that you can break it up into quadrants, like big enough, about 2 by 2 inch quadrants. And you're going to, with the pencil, write what each oil is. So lemon, lemon, lemon. If you're say doing 3 companies, or let's just say 2, lemon, lemon, and you put who the company, like Young Living, and then the other company name. Lavender, Young Living, lavender, the other company name. Peppermint, peppermint, the other company name. And then you're going to drip 1 drop from each in the appropriate square, and then you're going to let them dry. Just make sure it's on a like maybe a granite or marble or whatever your stone countertop is. Don't put it on anything plastic because again the oils will leach the plastic. So just make sure there's somewhere where like even on concrete would be fine. And you watch. In about an hour, if any of them dry completely, that means there's alcohol in them. If after about 4 hours, because it takes a while, you can't do this in a class because it will take like 2 or 3 hours for these to dry depending on the humidity in your home. If after about 4 hours there's actual still wet marks on them, like they look really gross and weird, that usually means there's carrier oil in them. Now note lemon, because lemon often has the color of lemon in it, that will show a little bit of stain, but that should be a faint yellow stain. The more yellow, or if it's green, or it shouldn't be anything other than like just a real faint yellow. So you're going to check back in 12 hours just to see if anything else is on there. Generally in 4 hours it will dry, but sometimes it can take up to 12 hours depending on your humidity in your place. Okay, so those are some of the tests that you can do. I hope this was helpful for you guys to kind of get started and kind of get moving on all of this. Just know that all of this stuff is fun to do, and if you ever have a friend that uses a different brand, don't ever get upset with them or think that like my brand's better than yours. It's a personal choice, and it's very important to let people choose with their own brain. And so all you can do is test together and see what's fun for each other. And if that person adores their sweet smelling oils because they love what it does for their limbic system, right? They're just memories and stuff. Let them use them, okay? It's totally fine. When they think they want to get something a little deeper in action, just, you know, feel free. Like, say, fine, you can totally order off my account. Young Living allows us to do that with our friends, just, you know, and then they would just pay that extra 10% above your cost, because that's legally what you're supposed to do. But it's just very easy way of helping just be friends with people and be happy that they're using oils and not Windex, okay? So we want to love people where they're at, but I think that these in-home tests can be really fun if done together. So I would love to hear from some of you guys, if any of you guys have done these tests and what you've found and the fun things about them. Again, we are loving this process, loving learning. We want to foster an environment of just truth finding, but learning and excitement rather than no, right? We don't want to ever be complaining and derogatory to our friends or get really upset about somebody using a different brand. We just want to enjoy this journey where we're at and continue to help educate others, okay? You guys are all educators now. You've got a ton of information that you can go off of. We're going to get into lesson 5, and that will conclude this day of tons of lessons for you guys to get started. I hope this is fun for you guys. If you're in this and ready to go, I want you to hashtag Choose Vitality. I want you to tag friends in this one. This was a very important video. When we get into the quality of oils, we're going to really hit hard about the 4 types of oils on the market. We're going to talk about authenticity. We're going to get into why purity matters, and this is a big one because, you know, lesson 5 is all about rectification, all about fractional distillation, all about why it's important to have certain tests done on your oils, what those tests are. It's a big one. So this next lesson is going to be huge, and I will see you soon. Bye.